Kingdom Hall, Chris speaking. May I help you?
Hi. I was just wondering, I was just wanting to talk to a Jehovah's Witness to help me with a question I had.
Yes, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. What's
Okay.
your name?
Christine.
Oh, really? My name's Christine.
Oh, yeah, I thought I heard that. I was like, oh, wow, that's funny. Well, I was doing a lot of research into the view on blood because I have a friend whose relative died from it. They could have lived a lot longer by taking blood. But it was just something I found in an older publication. It talks about like the view that they used to have and taught was true. And I just wanted to see what you thought about it. And I have a question about it. It says in the Watchtower 1961, this is a direct quote. It says, whether whole or fractional, one's own or someone else's, transfused or injected, it is wrong. And I was just wondering how 40 years later, after forbidding parts of blood, that now it's not wrong anymore. What is the basis, like from Scripture? It seems so dogmatic, saying it is wrong, even fractions.
Okay, well, I am a registered nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And you picked an interesting person to call because I've had experience with a child who had open heart surgery at Children's Hospital. And we do fill out a DPA every year. And on the DPA, we study the Scriptures and we decide which fractions.
Yeah, that's my question. What Scriptures do you have that talk about those different parts of blood? You said you study the Scriptures to fill it out. Mm-hmm. Could you show me where it talks about that?
I don't have that information in front of me right now.
I mean, in the Bible, you said you studied the Bible and
right.
It explained what fractions of blood you could take or couldn't. Why didn't they see that before then when they taught, forbid all the fractions?
Well, we don't know. We've studied the Bible thoroughly, and when we find something in the Bible that does change our viewpoint, then we are humble enough to realize that we need to change our viewpoint, but it really hasn't changed that much.
No, that's quite a bit. Not being required, not being allowed to take any even portions of blood. And really, when you add up all the different, like they call them minor fractions, but that's disputable also, but it can almost just add up to blood. Could you give it all separately? It would almost add up to blood. I mean,
you have to remember medical science has also done further research. They now consider blood an organ.
Exactly.
And they will only give it, dire circumstances. Did you look at the Scriptures in the Bible that do talk about blood?
Yeah, it talks about eating animal blood. It doesn't talk about any life-saving procedure. Even Orthodox Jews don't apply it in that way. But, and blood, what you said doesn't quite apply, that medical science has developed new things. It wasn't new. It was fractionated since the 1940s.
I'm saying their viewpoint.
Oh, okay. I thought you said
changed. So, we're educated people. So we want the best medical treatment without the use of blood. And
I think a lot of people would, but that's just a red herring because I'm talking about that they say it's wrong here. That Jehovah forbids it. There's even...
It was repeated in Acts. Have you looked at that?
Like I said, that wasn't about blood, a life-saving procedure. It was about eating animal blood, and that's all it was about. It's a totally different thing. I'm not sure how that would apply. And really no one else thinks it does, I mean, even Orthodox Jews. Jesus even said if your animal falls into the pit, wouldn't you do work on the Sabbath to get him out? Your animal. And the Jews always had a belief of life over law, life over, especially ceremonial laws like blood and Sabbath, that if someone's life was in danger, that always came first. And Jesus talks about that too.
Actually, the Pharisees that's one of the charges against Jesus so that he healed on the Sabbath.
Exactly, right. And he sure
Right.
did. Yeah.
He
So
did,
he
'cause
believed
that's the
that
right
principle of
principle.
life over. But what I'm asking is...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Uh-huh.
Do you have your Bible there?
Sure.
Okay. Take a look at John.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 and verse 16. It's a very popular verse. Many people have read it.
Yeah, okay.
Can you read it for me?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life.
Thank you. So, so we want everlasting life, and it's something that's promised to us in the Scriptures, isn't it?
Right.
Well, who inherit everlasting life?
Those who believe in Jesus, trust in what he has done for us. It talks about that in Romans 10:9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Gospel of John talks about it. Romans says it's to those who believe and don't work by faith alone.
If we could turn back to Matthew chapter 7.
Okay.
In verses 21 to 23. I'll read it for you if you'd like. But you're on Matthew 7, 21 to 23? Mm-hmm. Okay, so as I read this, notice what Jesus said about people who thought they were doing the right thing. Not everyone saying to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of the heavens, but only the one doing the will of my Father, who is in the heavens will. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and expel demons in your name, and perform many powerful works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. So you notice he's making a contrast here, that some people thought they were doing what God said, and thought that they believed in Jesus. But that the important thing is in verse 21, and we even mention this in the Lord's Prayer, don't we? But only the one doing the will of my Father. So the Bible is the authority, isn't it?
Okay. Well, thanks for the scriptures, but I wanted to see scriptures that help you decide what parts of blood you can take and what you can't. Because you said you studied the Bible before you filled out that form. I mean, a woman recently just died in Canada that just had her baby. It's so heartbreaking and so unnecessary. And I don't believe it's the heart of God at all. I think he provides those things that can help people. She just bled to death, you know?
Okay, but did she bleed to death
because
she received a blood transfusion?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Did she hemorrhaged after childbirth. Sure. I think the witness women are much, much higher a risk in childbirth. A thing came out recently. I forgot how much percent more, because it's one of the risks of childbirth. But so I wanted to get back to that question. You said you used the scriptures to fill out your card, your blood card, and I just was curious which ones that you felt were relevant to which fractions you can take.
Okay, just a second. My friend Teresa would like to speak to you.
Great.
She and I were talking when I answered the phone. Here
Okay.
Okay, Christine?
Yeah?
Okay, may I say this? My husband died. Oh, my late husband died about 14 years ago. And he had some serious health issues, and his blood count was getting lower and lower. And the doctors, there was a doctor there that, he specialized in blood and whatnot. And so he said, your husband probably needs a transfusion. And I was like, well, we don't accept blood, whole blood. And so I said, have you ever heard of saline solution, dextran, and those type of things? And dextran was the one I really focused on. And he said, no. Now that really kind of surprised me. And I said, well, that's something that we do accept. Well, he gave that to my husband, and well, because I felt like I couldn't even. I mean, a short period of time passed, and there it was. It was there, and they were giving it to him in his IV. And I thought in my mind, well, we want to go by what we know from the Bible, and in Genesis and Leviticus and Acts. And those 3 places, Jehovah said that we shouldn't take blood into our bodies.
Right, and they've even...
Listen, I'm not... Wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
Finished.
Sorry.
I'm not finished. And as a result of that, I knew that my husband lived a little bit longer. Now, me personally, in my heart, I felt if my husband would have been given whole blood, he would have died immediately. Now, on the other hand, my father, he died, and his wife, well, I guess you could say she was my stepmother, and she was a nurse, and she said to me, when my dad was real sick and in the hospital, and his blood count went down to about 4. So she says to me, well, I know you don't accept blood transfusion. And I just listened, and she said, but I had them give your dad blood. And I thought, well, okay, but, I'm thinking in my mind, that's a decision that you two made together. I didn't say that, but I just listened. But that's what I thought in my mind. So then she proceeds to tell me, in the same breath, that when they gave your dad blood, it did something to him, and he went into cardiac arrest. And I thought, oh, my. My dad years ago had gotten hurt in a coal mine, and he said because back then he took blood again, and he said he never felt the same after that. But see, as Jehovah's Witnesses, our main reason for not taking whole blood is because Jehovah tells us not to.
Right.
And so because we value our relationship with Jehovah, and my dad died, okay? And so when I think about these things that have happened in my life personally, if Jehovah says we shouldn't take whole blood, that's fine. And it's my understanding, and I'm not as knowledgeable as maybe a doctor, or we have brothers that work with those type of situations where, maybe a hospital says a person needs blood. I'm not as knowledgeable as those people. But I will say this, I know that too in certain vaccines or whatever, there are portions or fractions of, minor fractions of like protein or whatever that is extracted from, and I'm not getting this right, from blood, like the protein or whatever.
Yeah,
is that correct?
There is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, we do accept vaccines. My late husband, before he died, it was suggested that he take iron because of his situation. Not only that, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's you know what I'm talking about? EPO. Okay, thank you. EPO. And so what that did for him was it stimulated the blood cells so that basically to help to build his blood up. And so he accepted that as well. But, eventually he did die. So, our main reason for not taking whole blood is just because the Bible says so. But there are fractions, like I said, that can be extracted, that would be like proteins or whatever, and I don't know. And those are the things that we'll accept. And then we also accept other things to help to build up the blood, like I told you, like the dextran, the saline solution. And then, we're excited because the doctors, they work with us. And, sometimes if there's a surgery, they'll be very careful and they'll do different things. There's different things they can do so that maybe a person doesn't lose as much blood. But we do, without a doubt, we value life. But what's really important to us is being faithful to Jehovah.
Okay, my question, I'm sorry for your loss about your husband, but my question is, the people that they taught for, let's see, before they changed the blood doctrine to accept fractions, which also come from stored blood, which they used to teach was also offensive to Jehovah, to store any blood. Those things come from stored blood. And they also come from people who donated, which also you all believe is wrong. But I'm just wondering what the biblical basis is of teaching people that for that long that they couldn't have fractions, and now it's okay with Jehovah. And did they ever apologize to people that did die from that? You know, they had those children that died on the cover of the Awake magazine. It's very kind of morbid, you know. Children, like, what did they have to say about it?
Well, you know, just like my friend Chris was telling you, you know, it's just like with anything. You know, the more knowledge that we gain of things, the better understanding we can have.
Well, the thing is, though, that they didn't. Let me finish now. They didn't present that as a understanding that they think might be in the Bible. They presented it as being Jehovah's only channel and God's mouthpiece, and that people were disfellowshipped for it, for even taking fractions. So to then say, well, we're just, you know, learning as we go along. This is a matter of life and death. A woman recently just bled out in Canada after she had her baby. And in childbirth, the Jehovah's Witness women are much higher at risk because there's nothing else that you can do for that when it's coming out very quickly. That's a recent study that you can read about. So,
okay,
but
can I ask you this?
Sure.
Can I ask you this?
Sure.
You know, you mentioned that when you think about people that donate blood, you know, that could be anybody. That could be a drunk, a drug addict, or whoever. You know, so those are the things that can be passed on, right?
Right, and that's where you get your blood fractions from donated blood. So I'm not sure your point.
I can't speak for every Jehovah's Witness and what they decide to do, just like even if a person was Catholic. One Catholic person, okay, maybe they encourage the priest celibacy or whatever, you know, but then on the other hand, you know, maybe the priests are doing other things that are bad, but I can't speak for the decision that every person makes. I don't think any of us can, but when we are studying the Bible, and the more that we learn, then we could make application.
No, this was not left to personal. This was a dictate that they were not allowed from coming from Jehovah to the death to not even take blood fractions. And did you know they used to forbid organ transplants and vaccinations too, as saying Jehovah was very against those?
Well, I didn't know. I don't know about all of that.
Yeah, just the same.
Know all about that.
And I don't know if they ever apologized or for death. And this is what really annoys people. I mean that like those children on the Awake magazine, 26 dead children, probably some of them just needed fractions. So where did you get that information from? Well, you can see it. It's on the it's everywhere. It's on archive.org. You can Google it from May. It's from May. I can tell you the exact date about the kids that died, May 22nd, 1994. And it's boasting about it.
Where was that from?
Awake magazine.
It was from Awake magazine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very morbid.
You know what?
Did you ever think about those rituals where it's like occultic, like Satan likes blood offering? That's how people interpret it, and really people put it in tens of thousands. Jehovah's Witnesses have died.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you were in a life-death situation, would you take blood?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Just like Jesus said, you should rescue your animal. I think it's a blessing from God if you're in a life-death situation. And I certainly wouldn't put my children in jeopardy because of that, like those 26 dead children on the Awake magazine. But that other woman, Christine, told me that she filled out her card on what was acceptable and what wasn't using the Bible, and I was just wondering where in the Bible does it talk about which fractions are acceptable and which aren't? You know, when mothers breastfeed, white blood cells go into the baby's body.
Mhm. Okay, okay. And so what are you saying?
Well, does Jehovah forbid that? I mean, it's not your own blood. It's, you know, you're supposed to abstain from blood. There you go. White blood cells is one of the forbidden fractions. But anyway, I just wanted to see what the basis was and if there's anything in writing where they ever apologized for people that suffered from that, from the previous view.
Well, you know, I haven't. Christine handed me something, and I'm just going to read it to you. Okay? And this is some of the material that we use in order to make our decision. It says surgical procedures. You want me to start all the way up here. Okay, I'm sorry. It says, when making decisions about blood fractions, consider the following questions. Am I aware that refusing all blood fractions means that I will not accept some medication that include products to fight diseases or that might help the blood to clot in order to stop bleeding? Could I explain to a physician why I reject or accept the use of one or more blood fractions? And it goes on to say this: surgical procedures. These include hemodilation. Am I saying that right? Okay. And cell salvage. And hemodilution. Okay. Blood is diverted from the body, replaced with a volume expander, and later returned to the patient. Cell salvage captures and returns blood lost during surgery.
Did you say hemo pure? What did you say?
No, I didn't say no. Hemo dilution?
Oh, okay. Hemo pure is another thing that is allowed, which is made from cow's blood, which is fascinating.
It's allowed it's allowed by who?
Jehovah's Witnesses. Hemo pure.
I never heard of that.
Okay, well,
and you know what too. Some of the things you could be reading may not even be from our organization.
Yeah, they are.
We have ones out there. Well, I don't know, but I'm just letting you know that there are ones out there that twist our belief. And they're called apostates. So, you know, you have to be, exactly. You have to be careful where you're getting the information from. Now, I'm not saying by no means what you've read is not from the organization, but I know there are ones out there that twist our beliefs.
Well, really? Could you give me an example of like a site that does that? I mean, where did you see it, or is that just what the Watchtower told you?
For me personally, I know where to go, so I don't even get on those sites.
Well,
I've heard about them.
You said
I know, but I've heard
things, but yet
well, they do.
It's like you're just saying what the Watchtower told you. I mean, you don't even know an example.
You know what?
Of that?
Okay, I can say this. I'll tell you this. I remember when years ago going to a convention, and there would be ones that would be there, and at one time maybe they were associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, but they rejected it, and they would be screaming out all kinds of stuff. And I knew that, and I can't remember specific things, but I knew that they were what we call apostates. I knew that.
Do you call somebody that just because they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore? You seem to say that a lot.
You know what? I'm not around persons like that.
Yeah, I know about shunning.
I'm not
I know
around
about
that.
shunning. This thing
came out
about shunning in Canada just now, where people told about their experience. So it's really hitting the media a lot more. And this video was going around from a convention showing a 10-year-old girl who was being taught to shun and wouldn't talk to her sister anymore. And she's up there telling about it. and everybody clapped. It's like really stomach churning. But anyway, all those things that you were reading me, I guess it didn't get really back to
let me ask you this.
No, I want to finish my thought because you keep diverting. Okay. I just wanted to ask what scriptures they use to explain that now fractions are acceptable and how anybody could decide which one, because witnesses tell me that everything is based on the Bible. So
okay, let me give you some information, and you could look it up on our website. Okay?
No, I just wanted a personal answer from you. What scriptures do you base it on? What fractions?
That's what you know. What that's I'm giving you information, and you, if you want to, only if you want to, you can look it up and read it for yourself, and then. You know, if you would like to call back and speak with someone, you can do that.
Yeah, I've actually read their material because, like I said, I was researching it.
Well, if you want to know where it said what it says.
Yeah, they don't give any scriptures.
See, I can say anything to you, but now I'm going to give you information, and that you can go to, and you could read it for yourself.
Yeah, I have read I've read their information. There's no scripture. That's why I wanted to ask a witness. What scriptures do you use when you're deciding what fractions you can take and which? Christine told me that she was studying the Bible when she was filling out her card. So, I mean, don't you know any? I don't know any. I've been reading the Bible all my life. I never saw any that could decide a thing like that. So it just kind of seems like going beyond what is written, you know.
Do you want the information or not?
Is it on the website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. And it didn't answer that question. So anyways, you guys have been very nice to me, and thanks for sharing your point of view. And there is a site that's called Associated Jehovah's Witness for Reform on Blood, AJWRB.org, and they don't give their names because they're fearful, but you know, they have a lot of counter information that's real interesting. So I mean, that's definitely something you want to see all sides if you're allowed to. So hey, thanks for talking to me, both of you.
Okay. Well, you have a good day.
I appreciate it. God bless.
Bye.